It's Friday, Friday.
Well, just ask. Let's ask what Jacko Willing thinks about Friday.
I mean, I've been seeing a lot of the classic. I'm assuming Jocko's along the same mindset of like days of the week don't really matter, right? And this comes
Yeah,
from like the Gary V's of the world, where it's like work to do something, so you're not like working for the weekend, right? But
yeah,
and I agree with that, but you got to admit, I think you'll agree, Sergey. There's still something good about Friday, like
yeah, yeah.
here's one of my thoughts, short rant, but the reason why I don't agree with them a little bit is because,
Hmm.
like, I work on the weekends. I don't work all weekend, but it's peaceful on the weekend because nobody else or most other people aren't working. So my email inbox stagnates, I don't get business phone calls. I don't have
Mm.
meetings. So it's like I even if even if you are grinding away towards something that you love, like building your passion, cliche, whatever,
And
um,
sorry.
the weekend makes doing that work easier, in my opinion. That's what I think about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's like similar to when you wake up early and you do some work, and nobody really bothers you for
Shout
a
out
little
to the
bit.
shout out to the J
Gla-
Mug, by the way.
JMac, if you haven't checked Josh vlog on YouTube, check it out. You will be able to see it's a signature look. It's Josh and JMac.
Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah.
We should plug our own stuff a little bit more, but really, it's Josh and Sergey Weekly. We basically both do our own business stuff during the week, and then we get together on Friday and share our thoughts and ideas with all you guys. So that's definitely the priority. We'll plug our stuff at the end.
Yeah.
Anyways, how'd your week go, Sergey?
It's been good. It's been busy and it was a bit chaotic. Had quite a few. I find when you're working from home and you don't have too many meetings on location, you're like outside. Where you have to commute. It's much easier to control things and much easier to get things done. Versus this week, I had to commute a lot to downtown, and that just introduces so many more variables, and it's harder for me to get things done in the way that I was hoping to get done, or I was planning on getting done. So it's something that I find you need to spend more time in the same environment, so you're able to plan better and execute better. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just I think I just didn't put that many hours in that type of schedule, so to know or to project what do I need to do. So that was good. I mean, it's all good learning. Just started working with one of the clients, a fashion brand, on some marketing consulting, which is great. Hit my 100 subscribers on Instagram, which I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
All organic. All on Instagram, didn't really push it anywhere yet. It was just more. The reason I didn't was because, and the reason I didn't really chase the numbers on Instagram was because I wanted to build up the good content. So when people visit the profile, there is something for them to see versus start pushing an Instagram profile on other platforms and say, hey, subscribe. I didn't
Right.
do that yet. I was just patiently putting 2 posts a day, which I'm still going to be doing. And yeah, I mean, it's been a good day. It's been a good week. A few meetings, a couple of chats with other marketers, potential people who might buy my services. Had a good meeting with a couple of product managers yesterday. And yeah, I mean, here we are. It's been pretty good. Nothing, no really massive changes, but it's been, I think that's how most of the weeks go, right?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of quickly get into, a groove or a routine. I think routine is uh, sort of what you were semi touching on with your first bit about the commuting
Hmm.
downtown, right? It breaks the routine. So
Yes.
whether you're working at home, whether you're working at an office, whether you go to coffee shops or co-working spaces, when you're doing any of those consistently, you build your routine, you have your expectations. This is how long my commute takes, this is what I do for lunch,
Hmm.
etc. This is how many, and then this is how many hours in the day I have to sit down and do work. When you throw in meetings, especially that have a long commute, it just, not only does the meeting take time, but getting to
Yeah.
and from, going between them, And then I've talked about this a few times on my vlog actually, where the switching costs of just going between tasks, right? So, like let's say you're at work, you're at home doing work. Switching costs are probably going to be lower if you're going from, let's say, writing a blog post to doing some cold outreach on LinkedIn, right? You're still in the same chair, you're still looking at the same computer, and you're like kind of in the same mode of like, oh, here's my business and this is what I got to work towards. When you're going to meetings, it's like, okay, you're sitting down with someone, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, you're focused on them, you're focused on that, and then you got to shift, go to a different meeting, kind of you're getting in a different mindset, and then you go and sit down at your desk and you're just like, oh, okay, time to get to work. But it kind of takes you a few minutes, you know what I mean, to like get back into the work mindset. So definitely agree.
Distracting.
Yeah, it's so in my opinion, meetings and phone calls, they better be for very good reasons. And it's for those exact reasons, is because if they're not, they take a lot of time to do. They take a lot of time to set up, organize, get to, get from, and then the switching costs and the opportunity cost, I should say, is probably the more important term. I got to plug in my laptop here. But the opportunity cost, so anytime I'm doing almost anything during the day, the question is, well, could I be doing something better, right?
Right.
So, like, let's talk quickly about the project managers you were meeting with. Excuse me as I shuffle my charger across my face here. What was the purpose of meeting with the project managers, if you don't mind me asking, of course?
Product managers. Just catching up. It wasn't related to business, so yes, you technically can say waste of time, but I don't see it this way. I think
not necessarily. I mean, there's more to it than that, right? I mean,
it's I think it's more, there's this categories. The way I like to look at it is there's this two categories. Maybe there's more, but like by and large there's two. There's one where you would be, if you're running a business, you would be making looking any activity you're doing to make revenue. Great. And then there will be another activity or set of activities which will be related to relationship building or any intangible things that are not related to revenue. And I think it's important to invest in both. Now, there's obviously a question of, well, if it's the revenue is super important, then you should be focused on just on that. But I also find that, you also want to do other things to increase your satisfaction or level of happiness, and just because if you're like if somebody is just focused on one thing and they're just doing that and they don't have anything else going on, that can it can get pretty sad. So I'd say it's that meeting was just catching up, coffee chat, not related to work. And I don't do often those types of meetings because they are not related to work, but once in a while it's like I enjoy them a lot. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's totally a balance thing, right? It's where are you at in your life, in your business, everything like that, and that will all determine what you should be doing. I agree. There's more than one aspect to business, right? Like you said,
right.
Kind of like the business revenue side and then the personal side, and it's just finding the balance. It's like anything, right? Finding the balance based on where you're at and what your goals are. So so your balance is going to be different than mine is going to be different than insert person C here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's probably, I think I might be investing more in relationship, not just personal relationship, but relationship from the business perspective, because you could go for try to monetize people faster or give them a little bit of value and then look to monetize them later on. So you invest in a relationship upfront without necessarily getting a lot of back. I'm looking at that approach. Will it be successful or not? Only time will tell. I don't know, but it's just one of those. It's like, again, I think there's a balance everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one reason why they are linked is because if you do too much of category A, let's say, which is business revenue focused, then like you said, you could go crazy without offsetting it with category B, which could be, relationships,
Yeah.
meeting people, getting out of the house, getting some fresh air, hearing people's perspectives.
True.
So yeah, they're both important. They're both important. I think the key question is how much of each, or how much should you focus on each?
It's true. It's true. So before we started this episode, I think you had 2 points that you wanted to discuss that I thought were really cool. Maybe we start with the first one or the second one?
Well, we got to start with either the first one or the second one. There's only 2.
Yeah. True.
I think what relates exactly to what we're talking about now is so I did my daily vlog this morning on why you can't be a perfect entrepreneur. There's no such thing. Right. And the reason is for exactly what we're talking about now, which is there are so many things you could do at any one time, right? I was talking about opportunity cost. So if I'm doing X right now, would I be able to create more output or more revenue or more happiness by doing Y or Z or A or B or C? And you can't actually test that because right now, like what's the date? It's March 22nd at 8:53 a.m. So for example, I could start running a marketing campaign right now. Let's say that's what I decide to do. I'm going to do some marketing. I'm going to run a campaign. And it does well. Let's say I run it for a week and it does well. You can then test other campaigns, but you can't go back to March 22nd at 8:50 and hit the same customers with a message for the first time and test which one will do better, right? You can start on March 29th after you've done your week campaign and then test the 2, and it's pretty similar. But in terms of just being an entrepreneur overall, what should I do on any given day, considering opportunity costs, et cetera, you can't go back and test. You can't go back. Bill Gates can't go back to 1990 and say, well, what if I ran this program a little bit different, built this product differently or whatever. Now, he did okay for himself, obviously, so something worked.
Yeah.
But just the notion of perfection doesn't exist in entrepreneurship, so if that's something you're after, you're probably in for a rude awakening. And number 2 is it's hard for people like me and maybe probably you. It can be hard on a day-to-day basis because you don't have that assurity, right? Like if you work at a 9 to 5 or you have a clear boss, it's pretty clear to tell what to do. Usually it's clear, a little clear how to do it, or you can go to them and ask for help. And then you can kind of see, depending on how good your boss or the business is, you get some feedback. But when you're an entrepreneur, there's very little of any of that, right? You can do anything on any given day, and it may affect the outcome, and it may not, and it's hard to tell, and there's only so many metrics you have the time or ability to track. So it's an interesting phenomenon, and I happen to like it. And the way I ended my vlog today was, if all of what I just explained sounds like a headache, then you might not want to be an entrepreneur, right? Because there's just so much indecisiveness,
uncertainty, right?
That's the word I'm looking for. So that's just something that I've kind of realized over the last few months that I just kind of wanted to share and hear your thoughts on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like with the first point that you made, it's just the notion that you can't really turn the clock back. So yeah, it's definitely important. I think there are 2 things you mentioned. One is the notion of time, the most important thing, the most valuable. Everybody has 24 hours in a day. You can't turn the clock back, so you'd rather think about why you're doing it. Is it really important? And another aspect is speed versus quality, or speed versus perfection, and that's something that I thought about myself. I'm really interested in that, and the conclusion I came to, or the balance that I shifted, because the balance I shifted to was to speed. So be a little bit faster and give up a little bit on perfection. Now there's 2 notions, there's 2 types of people. There's people who are perfectionists and people who are forgot the word. It's momentum makers. perfectionists and momentum makers. And perfectionists are 99% of people. Those are people who are doing mostly 9 to 5 job, and they're great. There's nothing wrong with them. But that 1% momentum makers, those are entrepreneurs. Those are people who move fast, and then they can create momentum and make things happen. So with that 1%, they don't go for perfection. They just ship it. They just release it, and it's an interesting balance. And if you're not a momentum maker, it's hard, and I'm not. So it's always a battle in a way, to try to prioritize speed and give up on quality, because obviously I talk a lot about quality and just making sure this picture or this video, whatever is really, really good, but that will take a lot of time. And I've learned that during the day you just can't really, if you don't schedule it and have a time limit on a task, then it will take so much longer, and you just move at a slower pace. So that one is really hard. I would say speed is probably more important. You can test and learn faster and then improve after you get the feedback. And the third point you made was on, what was the third point?
I thought I just made 1 point. I don't know.
No, there was this third point.
I was talking about how just,
entrepreneurship and uncertainty, right?
Yeah. Like if you're not comfortable with that, then you might be in the wrong. It might be in the wrong job.
Yeah, this one is tough because most people, and this is like from what I've learned from Tony Robbins, and like the hierarchy of not the hierarchy of needs, but the needs that people have. A lot of them will need a lot of certainty that the next day they will have the cash, they will have stability, they will know what they need to do. And that's the reason a lot of people work for other people. But with like usually, you could create a pretty cool life if you are going for, if you're giving up a little bit of uncertainty for adventure or for something that you're not sure what it is, right? For growth, growth and the progress, and so I think that really speaks directly to entrepreneurs. I mean, it's really hard to find the right balance. How far you push yourself. Like, do you do 10 tasks or do you do 20? So I think I would probably say it comes down to, from my perspective, and you've been quite a bit longer in this game, it's just talking to people who are doing the same thing, just learning from them. What are they doing? Attending masterminds, meetups, just getting people who are already doing it, just regularly going out with them for coffee. That will just help to calibrate your the way you do it, like the speed and how much effort you have to put in. Are you doing it in the right way? So you could almost adjust your roadmap to what would be the optimal balance. And the reason is you don't have the boss. So just my quick thoughts.
Right. Yeah, I really like the point on speed, to be honest, and I think it's a very important consideration. I know for a fact that you're more of the perfectionist, and I think what's most important about that is catering that to what you're working on, right? So you can be either a perfectionist or what was it, momentum builder?
Momentum builder.
Momentum builder. Momentum maker. I think that based on which role you choose should depend on what you're doing, right? So for example, for my Instagram account, if anyone follows it, I'm not a perfectionist on the Instagram account. And there's a reason there's two reasons for that. Number one, I just am not into visuals. So even if I put in 10 hours, it would still look like crap. And number two is the medium itself, it's not conducive to that type of like perfect artwork, right? Yes, there's a difference in quality, and you can notice it. For example, your posts are much more visually appealing than mine. But I'm playing to the Instagram game of it's scrolling, right? It's real quick, and you're going to get better results with quantity as opposed to quality. So I'd rather take 3 minutes a day and post once a day than spend 45 minutes on a picture every day that God knows what the difference in results will be. I don't think they would be much. Now, if I had a lot of money, I might consider paying someone to do good posts for me every day. But I'm not. I'm just not interested in investing in that right now. So on Instagram, I'm far from a perfect. I'm definitely more of a momentum maker, and I find that just the more posting and the more going live, the better. So it's like, why would I put in extra time if I don't need to, or if I could spend it in other ways? And switching roles when I'm working for my firm, on my firm, or in my firm, I'm a perfectionist, because that's how I find, get, and keep clients, right? When you're talking about legal work, it's like very little room for error. You don't want to make errors. You don't want to make spelling mistakes, anything. So I'm a heavy perfectionist in that role. I'm a momentum maker for Instagram content.
Sure.
And then, there's a whole bunch of other things too that, a whole bunch of other roles we fill. Like you look at Sergey Ross, you put out Instagram content, you're a podcaster, the list goes on. You're a salesman, right? And so for all of those roles, you can consider which one do you want to be, a perfectionist or a momentum maker.
Yeah, it's a good point, because like it's true. Like you're, for example, with your copyright, and you'd be like so specific and like very attentive with every word, every comma.
It's funny you say that, because now that I think about it, even if you look at Instagram, so me and Instagram, I would say I'm a momentum maker for the pictures. But if you look at the captions, you will not find a grammar mistake or a spelling mistake. Not one. Go through every single one of my posts. So I'm kind of thinking about it now. It's like with the visuals, I'm a momentum maker. But for the caption, I'm going to take the extra 20 seconds and make sure the spelling is perfect. And that might be leaking in from my other, like that's for when I'm emailing clients or I'm drafting documents for my law firm. The grammar is 100% perfect. So that might be leaking in. But I love copy. I like to come across professionally, and so in that area, that's a good point.
It's also the strength, I think. Like my strength, for example, would be the opposite. Like my strength is in visuals and not in copy. Like I could, I will probably be I will be able to come up with a good short copy, but it has to be short and it can't have mistakes. It can have grammar mistakes, and it will have grammar mistakes, or it can, for two reasons. Number one, I'm not the best yet at grammar, and then because English wasn't my first language. And the second point is that I'm just not the word guy. Right. I like photography, I like video, I like gear, and I can, and it's much easier for me to make mistakes there. Like I will read it 2 times, but it's just that there's some people like you who will be able to pick it apart way better, way better. And for me, I'm like, I read it like we started this conversation before this podcast. You put out a post on Instagram and you said, I'm doing the live at 9:45, and then we talked about it, and I asked you, did you do your post? You're like, no, but it's 9:45. I seen it, but my brain is like, it just kind of skips it. Like I've seen it, I'm like, okay, cool, picture, great, like, boom. And so if you had a beautiful background or a beautiful picture, I would have remembered that so much better. Like, but just like that, it was in big letters, like 9:45. My brain just like doesn't. Obviously, I've seen it, but I just don't retain it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good way to summarize maybe this whole conversation, which is act like a perfectionist in the certain areas where you have a strength, because you're going to get a better return on your time, right? So for you, you could probably make a really nice Instagram visual in 20 minutes, whereas it would take me 2 hours. So it's not worth my time to do it. I can write a caption in 25 seconds with perfect grammar. It would take you, whatever, 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it would take, and then it still might not even be perfect, just like my visual still might not even be good, because I don't even know what a good visual looks like. So pick your battles, play to your strengths, double, triple down on your strengths. And yeah, that's what I got for the week.
Yeah, just get the feedback from others. Like getting feedback from you, for example, is great because I know more about myself. You know maybe more about yourself too. So just hang out with people who are doing something. The key is doing and not talking about it. And then you can learn more about yourself, get more self-awareness. And yeah, I totally agree. As you said, just pick the right battle where you are good. If you can write. If you can do video, just do video. Like I would not write a blog because I'm not that. I'd kill myself for just to talk. I'd just rather talk whatever it is. So it's important to know that, and if you know that, this is awesome. Now, of course, it's going to be crap at first, but that's okay because you'll be able to get a lot better. And then when you are, just be more satisfied and happy, and not spend your time on things that you're just not good at and you won't enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, Sergey. This is episode 11 in the books. Guys, if you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe. Shoot us a comment below with what your thoughts are. If you have any topics that you want us to talk about, and we can do it in a future episode.
And share it with your friends. Anybody who needs to listen to that, anybody who's not sure about, are they momentum maker, are they perfectionist, what should they do? There's some cool insights we just shared. And yeah, let us know, connect us with other folks. We always want to hear from others, and we'll be sharing more content.